I never thought the day would come when I would feel completely betrayed by my parents. When I thought about my divorce, I figured the hardest part would be dealing with my ex, coming to terms with what had happened, and maybe figuring out how to move forward with my life. But nothing prepared me for the gut punch that came when I found out my parents were taking my ex's side and paying for his lawyer. I still remember the day I found out. It was a Saturday afternoon, and I had just wrapped up a long week of work. I had barely managed to make it through the day without breaking down. The divorce had been messy from the start, emotions running high, accusations flying, a lot of hurt that felt like it would never heal. My ex, Ryan, and I had been married for 6 years, but the cracks had started to show about 2 years in. I could see it coming, a slow erosion of everything we'd built together. But nothing prepares you for the realization that the person you once thought you'd spend your life with no longer wants the same things as you. I wasn't perfect, and neither was he, but by the time we reached the decision to separate, we both knew it was for the best. The trouble was, navigating the divorce had become an endless battle. Ryan had hired a lawyer, and soon after, I had hired one of my own. The legal side of things was just as bad as the emotional side, and it felt like every time I turned around, another document, another form was being shoved in my face, making everything feel colder, more impersonal. But I had no idea how much deeper the betrayal would go. It started with a conversation I overheard one evening. I had been trying to keep things civil with my parents, even though I knew that they were having a hard time with the divorce. They liked Ryan. He was the guy they thought would be their son-in-law forever, the guy who helped with the yard work, the one who'd show up with flowers just because. He knew how to play the role of the good husband. But when the truth came out, the emotional neglect, the lies, the way he treated me, it all came crashing down. But my parents didn't want to see it. They didn't want to believe that Ryan wasn't the guy I had married. One evening I was at my parents' house for dinner. They'd invited me over, hoping to get me to talk about the divorce, and maybe convince me to make amends with Ryan. They thought if I could just get past it, we could all go back to how things used to be. I wasn't interested in fixing things with Ryan, not anymore. Not after everything that had happened, but I went anyway. Dinner was quiet at first, but then my mom mentioned that she'd spoken with Ryan's mother the night before. I didn't think much of it at the time, but then I heard her say something that caught me off guard. "Well, we've been helping Ryan with his legal fees," my mom said, casually passing the mashed potatoes. "He's really been struggling with all the costs, and we thought it was the right thing to do. You know, it's hard when you're going through something like this. We just want to make sure everything is fair." I froze. My heart sank, and the fork in my hand felt heavy, like it had turned into 1,000 pounds. "What?" I finally managed to ask, my voice shaky. "You're paying for his lawyer?" My mom looked up, surprised by the sharpness in my tone. "Well, yes. He's been really stressed, Emma. And you know we've always supported him. We just thought we'd help him out a little. It's not like we're taking sides." "Taking sides?" Was she kidding? "You are taking sides," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "You're helping him fight me, Mom. You're literally paying for his lawyer while I'm here, trying to navigate this mess on my own." My dad, who had been quietly eating his food, put his fork down and sighed. "Emma, we're just trying to do what's best. Ryan needs help. He's struggling with this just like you are. It's a hard situation for everyone." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It felt like the floor had dropped out beneath me. "You're kidding, right?" I said, almost laughing in disbelief. "You're helping him after everything he did to me? After all the lies and the manipulation? You're choosing him over your own daughter?" My mom's face softened. "It's not about choosing sides, sweetheart. We just want you both to be okay. We want this to be as smooth as possible." I could feel the anger rising inside me. "How is this smooth? How is this helping? You're literally enabling him to fight me for things that should have been settled already. You're paying for a lawyer so he can drag this out longer and hurt me even more. And you think that's okay? You think that's fair?" My dad stood up then, his voice low and calm. "Emma, you need to calm down. We're trying to help here. This isn't easy on any of us." I couldn't stop myself anymore. "No, Dad, it's not easy on you because you're not the one getting screwed over. You're not the one trying to protect yourself from someone who betrayed you. You're not the one whose heart is being torn apart while everyone pretends everything's fine." My mom's face fell, but I didn't care anymore. I had to get out of there. I had to leave before I completely lost control. "I can't do this right now," I said, standing up from the table. "I can't sit here and listen to this. You're supposed to be my parents, and you're acting like I'm the one in the wrong." I grabbed my coat and made for the door, but my dad called after me. "Emma, don't walk out on this. We're just trying to do what's right." I slammed the door behind me, my breath ragged as I walked to my car. My mind was racing. I had never felt so betrayed in my life. My parents, the people I thought I could always count on, were actively helping my ex. They were helping the person who had been emotionally distant, who had hurt me, who had been indifferent to my pain. And they didn't even see it. I couldn't breathe. I felt trapped, suffocated by the betrayal, by the realization that they didn't really see me. They didn't understand the depth of what had happened in my marriage, and they were willing to enable Ryan to help him prolong this nightmare. They were choosing him over me. When I got home, I called Sam. I needed to talk to him, needed to hear his voice. I couldn't process everything on my own. Sam had been my rock through all of this, the one person who never wavered, the one person who always had my back, no matter what. He answered on the second ring. Emma, what's going on? Sam, I don't know what to do, I said, my voice trembling. I just found out my parents are paying for Ryan's lawyer. They're taking his side in the divorce. There was a long pause, and I could hear him processing what I said. Are you serious? Why the hell would they do that? I don't know, I whispered. I don't know. It feels like they're choosing him over me. It feels like I don't even matter. Emma, he said softly, you matter. You always matter. Don't let this destroy you. I don't care what your parents are doing. They're wrong, and we're going to get through this together. But even as he said those words, I couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal. How could they do this to me? How could they support someone who had hurt me so deeply? They were supposed to be the people I could count on, the ones who understood, who saw everything I had been through. And yet they were choosing to ignore my pain, to turn a blind eye to what had really happened. For the next few days, I kept my distance from my parents. I didn't want to talk to them. I didn't want to hear their excuses. I couldn't bring myself to face them. Every time I saw their number on my phone, I felt sick to my stomach. I couldn't deal with it. And then one afternoon, I received a text from my mom. We need to talk. I'm sorry. Let's sit down and figure this out. I stared at the text for a long time. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I was ready to face them, to hear their justification for what they had done. But part of me knew that I had to face them, no matter how much it hurt. I didn't respond immediately. I needed time. The following days dragged by like an eternity. I couldn't stop thinking about the text from my mom, but part of me was still frozen. The reality of it all had hit me like a ton of bricks. It wasn't just the job or the lawyer fees or the way they'd let Ryan back into their lives. It was the fact that after everything, they had somehow put themselves in a position where they were choosing him over their own daughter. I remember the night before I was supposed to meet my parents to talk. I sat alone on the couch in my living room, replaying everything in my head. Sam had been supportive, but I could tell the weight of it all was beginning to take a toll on him too. He had been on my side from the very beginning of the divorce. But now, it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about our relationship with my family, the foundation of trust that had slowly been cracked. I could see the strain it was starting to put on us too. The clock ticked slowly as I stared at my phone. My mom's message was still there, waiting for a response, but I had no idea how to respond. Part of me wanted to go into that meeting with my parents and rip them apart. I wanted to confront them, to make them see how much they had hurt me, how deeply they had betrayed me. But the other part of me, the part that still loved them, the part that still wanted their approval, was scared to face the truth. What if they didn't get it? What if they never understood? I was trapped between two worlds. The world of someone who still wanted to fight for her family, for the people who had raised her and told her they loved her, and the world of someone who had been let down in ways she couldn't easily forgive. Sam finally walked into the room, looking at me with that concerned expression of his that always made me feel both understood and helpless. You don't have to do this if you're not ready, he said softly, sitting beside me on the couch. I shook my head, the tears I'd been holding back threatening to spill over. I don't know if I'm ever going to be ready for this, Sam, but I can't keep running from it. I can't keep pretending like everything is fine when it's not. I need to have this conversation with them. I need them to know how this feels. He nodded, his hand resting gently on mine. And I'll be here no matter what. Just don't let them make you feel like you don't have the right to be hurt, Emma. I appreciated his support more than I could ever express, but I still felt the weight of the responsibility on my shoulders. I didn't want to lose my family. I didn't want to lose the people who had been there for me when I was young, who had watched me grow, who had shared my victories and my losses. But I also knew that I couldn't keep living in this state of constant disappointment. Something had to change. The next day I showed up at my parents' house, my heart pounding as I rang the doorbell. My hands were clammy, my stomach a bundle of nerves. This wasn't just any conversation. This was going to be the hardest conversation of my life. I had no idea what to expect, but I was determined to make them understand. When my mom opened the door, she gave me a tight smile, but I could see the uncertainty in her eyes. She stepped aside to let me in, and I immediately felt the tension in the air. My dad was sitting in the living room, his expression unreadable, his hands folded in front of him as if preparing for a serious discussion. Hi, sweetheart, my mom said, her voice softer than usual. Thanks for coming. We're glad you're here. I didn't respond at first. I just walked into the room and sat down, my heart racing. My parents exchanged a look, and I knew they were both bracing for what was coming. I've been thinking a lot about what happened, I started, my voice trembling, and I need you both to understand how hurt I am. I can't just pretend like everything is fine, like what you did doesn't matter. You gave Ryan a job, and you're paying for his lawyer fees. I don't understand why. Why would you do that? There was a pause, and my dad shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Emma, we did it because we wanted to help him. He's struggling. We know he's made mistakes, but. But what? I cut him off, the frustration rising in me. You think I don't know that? You think I haven't seen how hard this divorce has been on him? But that doesn't mean you get to step in and fix things for him at my expense. You don't get to take his side just because he's struggling. You don't get to ignore how much I am struggling. My mom's face softened. She looked at me, her eyes filled with concern. Emma, we're not taking sides. We thought that by helping him, we could ease some of the tension. We didn't want this to tear us apart. You didn't want this to tear you apart, I repeated, my voice rising again. What about me, Mom? What about how I feel? You've been so busy trying to make sure Ryan is okay that you've completely ignored how I feel. You didn't think about me. You didn't think about what this would do to me. This isn't just about him. This is about my life, my future. Dad stood up then, his face red with frustration. We're trying to do what's best, Emma. We're trying to keep the peace. You don't understand how hard it is for us, too. We love you, but we also want to see Ryan do better. He's been a part of our family for so long. You can't just keep choosing him, I said, my voice breaking. You can't just pretend like everything is fine. You've been taking his side from the beginning, and it feels like you don't care about me at all. My dad's face hardened, and I could see the defensive posture he took. That's not fair, Emma. You're making this into something bigger than it needs to be. We've tried to support you both, but you need to understand that you're not the only one hurting. I took a deep breath, trying to stay calm, but the hurt was overwhelming. I know I'm not the only one hurting, Dad, but I can't just let this slide. You've let Ryan walk all over me for years. He took so much from me, and now you're giving him a job. You're paying for his lawyer. It's like you're telling me that he matters more than I do. And I can't just accept that. I can't just get over it. There was a long silence, and my mom finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. I never meant for it to feel like this, Emma. I never meant for you to feel like we were choosing him over you. We didn't think it would hurt you this much. But it had. It had hurt me more than I could put into words. I had always felt like the reliable one, the one who could be counted on, and to have my own parents make me feel like I didn't matter, it shattered something inside me. I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know if I even wanted to. Mom, I don't know what to say, I said, my voice barely a whisper. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if I can move on from this. You've broken something that I don't think I can repair. My dad finally spoke, his voice softer now, though still filled with a quiet strength. Emma, we're sorry. We didn't think it through. We should have done better by you. But you need to understand that we love you, and we're trying to do what's right, even if it doesn't seem that way. I wanted to scream at him, to tell him that it wasn't enough, that nothing would ever be enough. But I couldn't. All I could do was sit there, feeling like the world was falling apart around me, unsure of how to move forward, unsure of how to heal the rift between us. You've hurt me, Dad, and I don't know if I can just get over it, I said, my voice barely audible. I need time to process this. I need to figure out how to feel. I don't know when or if I'll ever be able to forgive you. My dad nodded, his expression filled with regret. We'll give you time, Emma. We'll give you all the time you need. Just know that we're here for you. We love you. But in that moment, it felt like love wasn't enough. Not when it came at the cost of my own feelings, my own dignity. I didn't know what would happen next. I didn't know if I would ever be able to forgive them, if the damage could ever be undone. But one thing was clear, my relationship with my parents had changed forever. And maybe, just maybe, it was time for me to start living for myself, and not for their approval.